He did, hasn't it, Johnny? Well, it's positive news, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. When you've got the homecoming of Andy Carroll and everything else that's gone on this summer, I think it's been an interesting summer to say the least, hasn't it?
Yeah, we'll talk more about the players that are coming in. We just want to talk about, first of all, the players who have left, and we'll be going all the way in the summer about Mo Diarra was the first one. The questions around his form, Johnny, last year, but have we replaced him? What I mean is that biting midfield, or is Hayden that natural?
I think Hayden did that job anyway, didn't he? I think Diarra in the Championship was bought more of an attacking midfielder, but when it came to the Premier League, Rafa in particular put him as more of a defensive midfielder. And now you've got Hayden, you've got Longstaff, and even Key to an extent that can do that sort of job. Shelvey, obviously, we know is more attacking thought-wise, isn't he? And he hasn't gone out and got a central midfielder, and of course you've seen the upcoming of Matty Longstaff as well. Maybe not needed to replace him if you've got so many options. He's got about 5 centre midfielders if he needed. So
yeah, I don't think it's going to be a huge miss. We'll be shouting out some of your live chat in a moment because Joelinton's on the stream behind her. We'll talk about Bruce in a moment dead quickly, but the next man to leave was a trigger clause which Newcastle couldn't really. It was Ayoze Perez's decision to leave, and I know he's mentioned now, he's spoken out about leaving the club. And what's your thoughts on what he's actually said, that Newcastle haven't really got any ambition? Rafa Benitez was a key factor of him leaving, he wasn't there, but he's right though, isn't he?
I'm speaking the truth, 100% speaking the truth. You know, Perez, he seemed to be like a fan at heart. He wanted just the best for the football club, and he just didn't see the best for the football club. I think if Rafa Benitez is at this football club, being brutally honest, Ayoze Perez turns down Leicester.
I agree.
I think, yes, the club can't do anything about the actual deal itself, and it's then up to the player whether he wants to leave Newcastle to go to Leicester or stay. I think if Benitez is there, he stays because, you know, he had that connection with him. He was getting the best out of him. He was getting so many goals in the position that he was getting from last season, and he is going to be a big miss for Newcastle. And I think he will do well with Leicester. And it's difficult to say, but we've kind of got to forget about him now. You know, he's not bigger than the football club. We've had better players than Ayoze Perez at this football club, and we've done fine, and we'll do just as well, hopefully, this season with players that will come on that you're going to talk about in the incomings.
Yeah, it's a great fee. I know whether you're a fan of Perez, 30 million for a player who gets 11-12 goals per season is a great fee. There's some people on this channel who thought he wouldn't go for 15 million, isn't there?
I don't know who talking
about. Mr. Kyle Thompson. But yeah, we all knew he'd go for big money because of the type of player that he is. But when he left, there's still questions around the manager, about Rondon, and then we're seeing it was only like literally a week or two later, Rondon in a Dalian Yafang shirt after Rafa Benitez has left us, and we were really worried at this point because we've lost Perez, we've lost Rondon. It was like, what's happening here? We haven't got a striker, we've got Hoslu at the time. We're not talking about Hoslu in this video, but Rondon was key, wasn't it?
Oh, he just knew as soon as Rafa wasn't going to be signing a new contract, Rondon wasn't going to be signing a new contract. The club desperately did not want him. You know, they can probably say on fans' forums whenever they're invented that they would have tried to do a deal, but they weren't paying £16.5 million for someone that's going to be turning 30 next week. But they've just brought in Andy Carroll, who's
so
the same age.
Itself.
Of course it does. And Rondon, you look at last season, he was injured to start with a little bit. He was kind of recovering from an injury while he was at West Brom. And after that, he was sensational. You know, Kyle absolutely loved him. He loved Rondon, but you know, he was the fans' player of the year. He was probably the manager's player of the year. He got what he meant to be wearing the number 9 shirt.
What's also interesting, Johnny, is that he spoke out that he didn't feel wanted by the club, and it's quite similar to what Perez was saying about the ambition, whereas Rondon was saying it was only Rafa Benitez who wanted me. I didn't feel wanted at Newcastle, and it's a common theme with over the past decade with the board and the chairman and so on as well.
The fans wanted him. The fans made it.
Very clear. All wanted him.
The fans made it very clear, especially against Liverpool when he was walking around, especially the Gallagher where I sit, you know, chanting and just saying thank you very much, come and stay. But unfortunately the fans don't get to make the decision on who comes in and who doesn't come in. But it was definitely disappointing. I think that's an understatement to say it was very disappointing that he wasn't wearing a Newcastle shirt there this season.
I think that's where the stage where plans of boycotting and protest would start to come around as well. When you're the Hostel left, look, when he's not a massive thing, but you know, we've lost Kennedy, we've lost Baraka and Hostel, so 3 players there. You're probably saying yes, they're not quality, but the squad at this point now, we'll talk about players coming in Steve Bruce in a minute, but our squad at this point, what was it, mid-June, late June, is very weak, and for me, fearing relegation.
It is, but Baraka didn't play. I know he played 4 minutes, but he didn't play for us, so there's nothing to be worried about with that one. Kennedy, I think he's gone to Reading.
Has he gone to Reading today?
Might have gone to Reading. Tell us in the comments if he's gone to Reading, because we've been doing some bits beforehand, but he's a player that is just so underwhelming, and that's really, really sad to say, because when he came for the first time, for that second half of the season, he was fantastic. Like, I remember the game against Southampton, he was unplayable, and it's really, really sad to say, because he's got potential. He really does. I just think it's an attitude problem. I think he's so laid back about playing football that he's not really bothered, as long as he can kind of keep going and staying. The fact that he's still a Chelsea player, and I think he's still got 2 years left on his contract at Chelsea, and that's why there was rumoured fees of £30 million. Chelsea could see a bit of potential in him.
It tells the story if you're getting loaned out again, and where you've got a club embargo on transfers, and you're letting them out and go.
Especially at Reading, no disrespect to Reading, but a Championship side that only just stayed up last year. That tells you something.
He hasn't gone.
He hasn't gone, has he?
So he hasn't gone. So Jonathan's just reading out some of your live chat. What's everyone else saying?
Luke Nicholas is saying Kennedy's still at Chelsea. Andy Carroll is back home. Andy Carroll will be motivated by Ian Young, so he'll be a bit motivated.
Yeah, we'll talk about the players coming in. We're getting on to that. So Steve Bruce was then appointed. We had all the carry on with Rafa Benitez, and Bruce was appointed Newcastle manager. What was your initial reaction, if you can remember, going back? Well, because a lot of fans were like, "This is a joke."
Underwhelming. When you hear...
Weren't you backing him on the radio show?
I'm backing him because of when you look at the fact that he's a Geordie lad, and
is he
a Geordie lad? Exactly, is he a Geordie lad? For me,
doesn't speak like a Geordie.
I don't know, but do you know what it is? Like, we were getting to the stage where it was becoming desperate, and we needed a manager.
I agree on that point, because we had to settle. We had to get a manager, because we had under 23 coaches out in Asia.
Yeah.
Ben Dawson and I'm getting distracted by a good-looking woman going past. Who's the other person?
Ben Dawson, Neil Redford.
Neil Redford, yeah, keep me right. Sorry. They were taking charge in China, and you had to get a manager to come in.
Yeah, for me, Steve Bruce was probably 1% of Newcastle fans probably wanted him in, and that's being kind.
Do you think that's changed a little bit now, though?
I think it's had to change, because we know that he's going to be in charge for the season coming ahead. Look, you can make out all he wants that he had to come to Newcastle. If you're getting offered a Premier League job, and no disrespect to Sheffield Wednesday, and there might be some Sheffield Wednesday fans watching this, but if you're going to offer to get a Premier League job, and especially the size of Newcastle compared to Sheffield Wednesday, you're going to take it. You're going to take it, and plus you're going to get probably a pay rise as well. Not much of a pay rise, but you'll get a pay rise. But we needed a manager. He has got a bit of experience. That's the only thing going for him. But he has taken 2 clubs down. Did well with the.
Has he taken 4 up, 3 or 4 up though?
3 or 4 up. He's done well with. Well, he did. I thought he did okay with a team down the road, which I'll not mention.
He's mentioned Hull quite a bit in his success, and he sees them quite similar.
FA Cup final as well.
Wing-back system as well.
Yeah, and is it a safe pair of hands? I don't know, but I think people are saying he's a yes man. People that know Steve Bruce say he won't be a yes man. I think that time will tell with that one, but. Look, we've got to give him a chance. We've spoken to a few fans this afternoon, Lee, and they've all said give Steve Bruce a chance. Whether he was the first choice, the 21st choice, we've got to give him a chance, because it's almost impossible to replace Rafa Benitez. I think the only thing Rafa Benitez didn't do was win a proper trophy. Yes, he won the championship, but a proper trophy is probably the only thing he didn't do. And
which is a difficult task in itself, isn't it?
Especially with a limited budget. So, no, I wasn't happy, but it was getting desperate, and we needed to get somebody in, and if he was going to be the one that was coming in, I'd rather have had him over a David Moyes, to be honest.
So Bruce was there. I think it did calm down a little bit, because we're seeing with first signing, and our club record quite literally smashed it. Yes, there is the critics that might say, well, it's technically only 8 million spent because you get rid of Perez and you get rid of Hoslo, but the club still went out and splashed the cash for 40 million on Joelinton. Everybody's going to jump on Google. Everyone's going to get on who scored and transfer market and YouTube and try and scout this lad. But 11 goals in the whole competitions, including Champions League, Bundesliga, and the Pokal Cup, if I've said that right. 1 in 3 in a league which is probably considered the 3rd best in the world. Is it? People were saying, is it Perez's replacement? Is it Rondon's? We don't know. Even though he still played a couple of pre-season games, I think but he's going to be number 9 now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's Rondon's replacement. I don't think he's Perez's replacement. I think.
Judging by pre-season, he will be.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the pre-season games. He scored against Hibs. He scored against Saint Etienne. Won a penalty against Preston. I know he gave away a penalty against Preston, but we'll not talk about that. And obviously, you can only judge him on what you've seen so far. And he seems to have done okay. Like, obviously, he's going to be up against some very difficult teams. Like, I don't know if Arsenal have bought David Luiz, but that'll be his first test, I would have thought, and him and Socrates will probably be the partnership there. Norwich, you want to expect them to bully their defenders because they're the teams that we need to be winning against if we're going to be staying in this division. I know that sounds pathetic to say that we're going to have to do that against teams like Norwich, but he needs to be getting 10 goals minimum this season, in my opinion. If you're paying £40 million for a striker, that's the bare minimum. It's 10 goals this season to get some sort of return on it. But look, he's taken the mantle of the number 9 shirt. Didn't hide away from that, and hopefully the fans will love him just as much as they did Rondon, and hopefully he'll get the goals this season.
It's like a bus, isn't it? You smashed the transfer record not once but twice as well. That friggin' wasp, honestly, we've been attracting wasps with that bag. Right, so that was Joelinton, and we're waiting. Okay, so went to the next side. It took a little bit of while, but then, funny, speaking of buses, 2 came along at once, and the first one was Jetro Willems, and another one from the Bundesliga on loan. I think that's a safe option, me, because if he doesn't hit it off, a bit like Kennedy, see you later. But this lad's got experience, plays for the Holland side. He wants to get back on the Holland side, and this Holland side is a much improved Holland. It's the Dutch side that we used to know over the years are coming back in force. I know they've got a lot of young talent, but he's got competition now at left back. He wants to play there at left wing back as well. Gives Steve Bruce more options with Matt Ritchie. Can he move him around? Positive, it's got to be, isn't it? It's
got to be. We needed full-backs, and we're going to talk about another full-back later on, but we've identified those players, and we've got players through the door. Yes, it's a loan deal. Again, it's risks-free, because if we don't like the look of them, then we can obviously say, look, we're not going to make it permanent. However, if he does well, you've got the chance that other clubs might sniff around, maybe bigger clubs if they like the look of them, and go, well, we're going to just take that player from you. So it is
hopefully
risky.
He's got a Dubravka clause in it or something.
Well, you hope so anyway. That's what you've got to hope for. But no, obviously, you've only played 15 minutes. You're going to have to wait until he really plays in the Premier League. But it looks like you'll probably start against Arsenal if Ritchie's not fit. Aarons, I don't want Aarons to start. I just don't think he's Premier League quality. I would have got rid of him in the summer, if I'm being brutally honest. But I've not seen enough of this player to really comment on him. But I just hope he goes in and he's steady, and he gives us another option. And obviously, no Dummett can play in that position, but it's not his most comfortable position. As a wing back, obviously left full back, slightly different, and he's done well there. But it's nice to see the board actually getting a left back just 2 years too late.
Yeah. Jonathan, what's anyone saying about the transfers, Joelinton or Willems, or even Andy Carroll will come out shortly?
Andy Carroll will date for Newcastle's sort of attitude we need at the club. That's what
anything else?
Luke says. Little funny one here, Imperial God. Aye. Anyways, I can't say the name. Andy Carroll is better than Ronaldo. Die hard attitude or something.
What's he said?
Luke said something about I don't know. Anyways,
this has just gone past, has it? Right, okay. So that was Willems, and then the one where I think most fans are quite excited about, on and off the pitch, it looks like, is Allan Saint-Maximin. Bit of a joker, bit of a character, the Gucci hairband and all of that. I would think a lot of kids are going to look at this lad and think he's my favourite player. And I think it's because of the stuff he does on and off the pitch. He's interacting. He's probably going to get told off to tame that down a little bit, because he's replying and making jokes about even things like, I'll see you on Mario Kart, and I don't know if you've seen that on Twitter, but he seems like a character, and he speaks really, really good English, so he's had an education. He seems very disciplined. His mother's hard on him as well. Are you excited by this one?
I am. Again, it's difficult to say, but from what I've heard and what I've seen from the Saint Etienne game, it was more, he's got a lot of flicks. He likes to, entertain people, and that's what you want at St James, is to get people to entertain him, get bums off seats. He does have that Ben Arthur kind of vibe to him, in the fact if he does well, people will love him and try and do his skills down the park. He's got the number 10 shirt as well, so you can see the similarities. He's come from a French team. He's a bit, flamboyant, to say the least, with his hairbands and all that.
So we start selling hairbands on my mates.
Well, with me and you combined, I don't think we've got much hair between us.
And Paul, imagine Paul.
Oh God, imagine us three trying to model them. But,
typical ambulance goes past where we'll film him.
But no, it was another player that we needed through the door. He is something different. He's better than Atsu, I'd like to think. He's much better than Jacob Murphy, again, I'd like to think. So,
when I seen him when he came on at saying that, and he came on to, this is my show.
This is my stage.
This is me. And then he was doing all the ballerina flicks, which great goal by Matty Longstaff. Loads of clapping. You probably wouldn't have seen this, but little things like when he had a shot, he was clapping the fans back. You don't normally say that. You normally say for a goal or Shelby comes for a corner or Richie or whatever.
Yeah.
But he braces it, and he's got to be a character. And I think, look, there's got to be times where he's going to frustrate you, because instead of just whipping the ball in, you probably want to beat that man. He'll probably go for a corner and will get frustrated. But at the same time, I think you're going to love him. So that's the one I'm excited about as well. So that was that one. Okay, so we'll move fast forward to where we knew it was happening last night, which was Emil Krafth. And we've done the video earlier on today. Judging from what the formation that Amiens, if I'm French, plays flat back four, and so does Sweden play a flat back four. But where does he fit in? Because it looks like, and I'll be really surprised if Bruce doesn't go wing backs against Arsenal. Where does he fit in?
He has to go right wing back. I think he's going to have to learn how to play that position, because he doesn't seem big enough to play the position of a centre half. He's 5'11".
Yeah.
So you're looking at Shaw over 6 foot, Lascelles over 6 foot, Dummett I think is just over 6 foot. So
Lejeune's coming back.
Lejeune 6'3". So I wouldn't want to put him, only if we're desperate to put him as the right centre half, and then you can put Manquillo or Yedlin as the right wing back. But for me, they've obviously identified him as the man that can do the job there. People have been frustrated with Yedlin, have been very frustrated with Manquillo. I know he's had a couple of good games in pre-season. I expect Manquillo to start on Sunday.
Yeah, so do I.
Because of the fact that he's played all the pre-season, Yedlin's been injured. And I think it's just the fact that Krafth's only just pretty much signed this morning.
His first training today, won't it?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they risk him by playing him on Sunday. So again, I think Norwich will probably be the game where you probably see him make his debut if Manquillo has a shocker on Sunday.
Rise up against Pepe and Aubameyang, and I don't think Lacazette's going to be fit though, is he? But yeah, so that was that. I think a lot of people, again, Googling, Wikipedia, trying to find, I mean, that's what I was trying to do earlier on, just trying to get as much information, because there isn't much about him. But looking at the video, if you haven't seen it, go back, you seem to be more defensive than offensive as well. But
we need a better defender.
We do need a better defender, but he's going to have to change it if Bruce. But again, Johnny, it gives him more options. We've talked about Willems and Richie. You talked about either playing a flat back four or going wing backs, and it's amazing how just one signing can change a couple of dynamics in the side.
Yeah, but I would try and avoid going forward at the back for the time being, considering Newcastle have played 5 at the back for the last year, 12 months, 15 months.
Even Bruce recognised that, and that's a credit to him when he came in. Yeah. He's seen this and thought, no, we've got to go back.
If it had been different if Newcastle had gone down and Bruce came in, and you can kind of go, well, do what you want. But the fact that Newcastle have been in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons and have finished 10th and 13th, he knows that the system works. He knows that the players will be good enough on the day. The last 2 seasons we've been better than the 3 teams that have gone down in those seasons, because of the way we've played and the way we've kind of, we've matched the opposition, and we've just done enough. So Steve Bruce has recognised that, and hopefully.
And I think, Johnny, that's a credit, because a lot of managers will come in and say, no, I'm not having you, this is my way or no way, and he's actually noticed, right, this is a strength that I need to use, and he's done that, and he's tweaked it a little bit with the formation, which is great to see, like the likes of Shelby and 3 in the midfield and 2 up top as well. Yeah. But of course, the big one, which is going to make the headlines, we've interviewed a few fans, which you'll see tonight on YouTube. Wasp comes near Jonathan, he's backing off. Andy Carroll, let us know in the comments and we'll read some of them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, we're not expecting to play 30 games this season, but
we'll even get half of that, to be honest.
First of all, why we're signing Andy Carroll?
I think it was we mentioned this on the radio show, would you rather have Charlie Austin or Andy Carroll? And we were quite split in the radio show, and the comments were quite split, but more people wanted Andy Carroll, and I think it's because of the fact he's a local lad. He literally lives a mile away, or a mile and a half away in Gateshead, and he's played for the club before. Yes, there was a lot of animosity for when he left to go to Liverpool. I've said this before, I don't know whether the club forced him.
Well, he said he was forced out.
Exactly, and again, surprisingly, why did the club let him back in if he said that?
Why does he want to come back? It's because that's his home.
It is his home, and unless he's taken a big pay cut, he seems to be coming for the right reasons. He wants to play for Newcastle, and that's probably the biggest thing for me that I could take from this, the fact that he knows what it means to play for this club.
So that's a factor. Do you think Bruce has looked at it and thought, this is totally different than what I have? I can go long, I can go direct, I can use him defensively as well for set pieces as well. Because Joelinton, yes, he's tall, but Joelinton's not when I've seen him in pre-season, he's very likes to play on the last man. Carroll is totally different.
But for 20 minutes, why can't they not play together if we're getting beat or we're drawing at home? I'll put them together for me, because you've 2 physical lads that'll want to get on the end of crosses. If Saint-Maximin gets a good cross in, you've got Richie that can get a good cross in, you've got Shelby that can get a good cross in. You've got all different options now. Carroll is going to be someone that you'll expect to play the cup games, possibly.
I think you also need runners around him.
You do, but you've got the likes of Almiron, Saint-Maximin. Muto to an extent, and he might not play as much, but Muto could do that as well. So there is options.
And Gale.
And Gale's, I think that's, it's not the worst thing in the world is keeping Dwight Gale. He's played really well in the Championship, and yes, I know the Championship and the Premier League's different, but again, he's quick, he's pacey. If Almiron's injured, I know Almiron's better, but if you put Joelinton and Gale together, it could work. Little man, big man kind of a situation. So let's go back on the Carroll though. The fact that Carroll has come in today, you can tell even the city, like the fans are quite happy. Like, I think there'll be more fans will be
cautious about his injury, and that's all.
Yeah.
If he was fully fit, he wouldn't be on a free.
He wouldn't be at Newcastle if he was fully fit.
On a free either.
But again, so the club are probably seen it as risk-free. It might actually have been rubbing his hands. He's going, I sold this player 8 years ago for 35 million quid, and I'm getting him back on a free. It's just about fighting
there's wasps all over the place, and Jonathan's petrified, and I'm scared of them as well. So, sorry, what you're saying?
With Carroll, wasn't it? It's a risk-free.
Yeah.
You know, yes, if it's 1 year, he pays as he plays. So it's no risk to the club, and if you can get 20 games out of him and he scores a handful of goals, get another year out of him, there probably wasn't a lot of teams, Premier League teams, that would have been after him. And I think if he had the chance to move to Newcastle, he was going to take it, and he's taken it with both hands today. I think he's probably happy enough with the salary that he's getting, but the fact that he gets to put on the black and white shirt again is probably the biggest reason why he's come back to this football club. And I'm really happy about it, because I was devastated. I think like 99.9% of Newcastle fans when he was sold to Liverpool. Because
I wasn't, because it was 35 million. I was more devastated about Shevsky Kuchi coming in rather than Andy Carroll.
I was devastated.
It was Shevsky Kuchi for me. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
No, I was devastated when Carroll left, because for me, you look at some of the performances, the Arsenal game, the Liverpool game, the Villa game.
He got on the England side, didn't he?
He just got the England team, yeah. The Villa game, in particular, when he scored a hat-trick, I had a fan before who was saying that was one of his first games, was that Villa game, and he was unplayable. And then, obviously, scored against Liverpool, the team that he actually signed for. But the big thing is, Lee, when he comes on, he's a threat, especially corners, set pieces. No one will want to mark him. And
for me,
VAR coming in as well, grabbing for penalties as well.
For me, and I've said this, I think he's the best header in the league. I don't think anyone's comes near him. You can throw any centre back at us. I think Andy Carroll, when you're going up and you see him and he comes flying at you, you do not want his head clashing with your head. But like I say, I think Johnny and Jonathan, freaking hell, man, get it right, Lee, because it's double Johnnies here. Jonathan, what's everyone saying in the live chat about Andy Carroll?
Everyone's saying positive stuff about him, actually. There was a one. Andrew said the ambulance that went past was for Andy Carroll. The other one, and then Luke says Andy Carroll best header in the Premier League.
There's loads of Lukes. I have to agree with Andy Carroll.
No, that was
being the best header.
That was the same, Luke. And then there was just Alan from Facebook says, nice to see Ashley spending the Carroll money on bringing Andy Carroll back to the club.
It'll just be signing on for your loan. So yeah, great news. We've got a video coming up later on tonight where we'll talk about today a little bit more in thorough and a little bit more in detail. So keep an eye on that for tonight, and obviously we've got the fans. But coming off that, players who left today was Jacob Murphy. That's the only official one, unless more news breaks. You can see that he looks freezing cold, and he's probably been out in the cold. See what I've done there, Johnny? Yeah. Been out in the cold for a long time at St James's Park. Been out on loan at West Brom. Wasn't great, mind it, in West Brom on loan, but where does his future hold now?
Away from Newcastle for the next season in particular. I think it's a massive season for Jacob Murphy.
But didn't we say that when he went out on loan to West Brom?
We did, but I think for me, he's a confidence player. I just think he's shot of confidence. I think Benitez didn't really rate him. I think he was like a 4th or 5th choice pick to buy in the summer, and that's what he got, a 4th or 5th choice pick to buy.
He probably joined because he supports the club.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it was a Premier League move as well. Norwich winning the Premier League at the time. So, look, it's a massive season for him. If he can get a good run of form at Sheffield Wednesday, and Sheffield Wednesday say get in the playoffs or something, and he's made an impact towards that, then people go, right, now you go to Newcastle and now you get your second chance, because I think he's still got another year on the contract after that. So look, I think he just needs to get away from the city, get away from the area. He'll have a settled Sheffield Wednesday team where he can just make it his own, because the Championship is his level, and he's had good games in the Championship. He hasn't had many games in the Premier League where he's done well, but when you look at the
Man City one when we got beat 3-1, he scored.
Yeah,
that's only
right behind there. I couldn't believe what he scored there. But the Blackburn game, especially away from home, where he went to, I thought he had a good game against Blackburn. For me, he just doesn't have a good left foot, because he was using his pace. He's really quick and using his right foot to get past people, but if he's on the left hand side, he can't cross his left foot. He needs to work on it, or try and drag back on his right, because it was really letting him down. But he's got potential, and hopefully Sheffield Wednesday benefit from that, and if they do, then hopefully for Sheffield Wednesday fans, they'll be near the top 6.
And Newcastle going to pay a compensation fee for Steve Bruce because we've let Jacob Murphy leave, or do you reckon Jacob Murphy's left on a free loan deal? Wouldn't be surprised, would you?
Anything with Mike Ashley will something have to do with money. Yeah. So I don't think it'll be a free loan signing, but I don't think it'll be as expensive as it would have been. That's how we say.
Yeah, maybe buy him at the end of the season. Yeah. Okay, so that's the players that have left, and the European market is still open. That's what we must stress. So you can talk about your big names across Europe. You can talk about maybe Turkey and Greece, whatever. Henri Saivet is...
Who?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because he's been doing well for Senegal. He reached the final of the African Cup of Nations, takes all the free kicks, all the set pieces, and yes, he missed a penalty in one of the semis, but scored against West Ham. Also lost possession for West Ham as well, but he's been loaned out to France, he's been loaned out to Turkey a couple of times. The European market is still open. Are we expecting this one to go through some point later on in August?
Yeah, so I do believe if it's a loan deal, it'll be a loan deal, something like that. But I actually remember going to his first game, Everton away, in the McLaren days, and he was probably the best player on the pitch. But because we were getting...
Did he play 40? Was it 45 that game?
He played 60 minutes, I think.
I knew it wasn't the full.
It wasn't the full 90, but I think we brought Townsend on or something like that. To obviously, I think we were getting beat 1-0 at the time. But he was probably one of our best players on the day. And then ever since then, he's played a handful of games after that, and then he's just haven't seen him. Played that one game against West Ham, and then we haven't seen him for about 18 months. So, look, he just needs to get out the door if he's not going to get played, and it seems that...
But we don't know if he's going to get played because Steve Bruce has given everyone a chance in pre-season. Because he's not playing in pre-season. It's probably going to go against him. Speaking of Geordies, Jack Colback is technically a Geordie from Killingworth. Right, this is a difficult one because the championship window is closed as well, unless the deal goes through after 5 p.m. We don't know yet because we are live. He's not going to go to League One because his wages are too high. I think he's a better player than League One. I know he's not a great player. Kyle rates him highly, I know. But that's a joke, everybody. So I don't think he's going to go out in the European market, but I actually think now, because some deals can't happen after 5 p.m, as long as they get the paperwork done. But if it doesn't, do you see him staying until at least January, hanging around the first team? Or will that be detrimental to Matty's progression?
I think the club have got to look at the future, and if Colback's not going to get played, then they've got to let Matty Longstaff have a go at least. I don't think he's going to be in a 25-man squad.
This will be announced this evening, so it might already be announced.
Who knows? But I think for myself personally, I think that I thought he was going to be nailed on to go back to Nottingham Forest. But because of Bruce coming in and giving him a chance, he played a couple of pre-season games, there was always that possibility that he was going to get a second chance at Newcastle. Obviously that hasn't really materialised, I should say, but I think personally he should try and get a move away, if it's in Scotland or something like Celtic or Rangers, someone like that, or if it's MLS. Just for him, a year left on the contract, he doesn't want to be sitting out and not playing for a year. You know, he's been frozen out by Rafa, and it took him a while to get the Nottingham Forest move. So get a club, just go with it for a year, and then try and get a new club for the future of his football, because he desperately needs it.
It's interesting because if we are playing that 3 in midfield again, we need another 3's backup, so he could be 6th choice. But the thing is you don't want to hamper Matty's Longstaff's progression, because he's had a great pre-season. And to be fair to Kyle, Jack Colback did play all right in a couple of games, but he hasn't played in the last 2, which you would expect that he's now going. Yeah. And that's the same as Ashraf Lazar. He featured and he was awful against Wolves, not so great against West Ham either. But we expect another one a bit similar to Saivet. We expect him to go out to a European club. There's talk of that he's in Serie A at the minute in Italy. If we don't get rid of him, that's 30 grand a week, isn't it?
Just get him out the door.
Easier said than done.
I know it's easier said than done. I think this is probably one of the only signs one of the few signs that Rafa made that Newcastle fans will not look back in nice and happy thoughts. But no, he's not good enough for the Premier League. He probably wasn't even good enough for the Championship, if we're being brutally honest. He just needs to get a club. Desperately needs to get a club, but because of the wages that he's on, it's very difficult. If someone's on 30 grand, they're going to keep on playing unless they get paid off.
Probably have to pay some of his wages.
So like Berahino, I heard Berahino's just paid off 3 years of his wages, so Newcastle dodged a bullet there. can't
Yeah,
believe
that would have been a disaster on that one.
Oh.
So we expect Lazar to go. Jonathan, what's everyone saying in the live chat?
Paul is in.
Our Paul.
Yeah, our Paul. He says hi, guys. There's with them.
Like he's seething.
Well, Simon says I can see Colback being left out of the squad.
Yeah.
Alfie says they prefer Matty or Sean Longstaff.
I think you've got to say Sean at the moment, but Matty's progression is going higher. But right, we're going to be wrapping up. Let's just talk about an overall dead quickly. Keep an eye on that video coming tonight. How would you see the whole transfer market? Are we a little bit stronger?
If you said to me we lost Perez and Rondon, and some people still say it's a good transfer window, then you've got to look at it as a positive. But because these players aren't proven, it's a massive risk. So at the minute, I've got to say it's a 4 or 5 out of 10.
Not bad.
Because we don't know if these players are going to be good. If it was players that have played Premier League and you know what you're getting, then I'd be like, yeah.
The only one that we do know is Andy Carroll and probably
Yeah.
Jetro Willems to some extent, but the
Yeah.
other three are a little bit unknown. The under-23s, of course, have signed a lad who I can't pronounce. We'll do a video on that. Ludwig, whatever, centre-back. That wasn't today, that was yesterday officially. Well, not official because I haven't announced it, but we'll be doing a video on that and, of course, with the women's teams as well. Tonight we've been interviewing a few fans regarding today, and also we've got me, Jonny, talking about a little bit more. Johnny's interviewing me on that one, the other way around, but big massive B behind you, Jonathan. Right. That is it. It's gone away. It's gone away, mate. It's gone away. That is it. Thank you very much, everybody who's watching on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, and of course YouTube. Thank you very much, everyone. See you tonight. Bye.